subject of Akhir Zaman, or the last age, or the end time, to be able to understand the slave woman giving birth to her mistress. Riba, said the Prophet ﷺ, whether it be large or small, eventually results in poverty and destitution. Indonesia is poor today, and that didn't happen by accident. Bangladesh is miserably poor today, and that didn't happen by accident. Yemen is poor, and Egypt is poor. And if you believe that happened by accident, you should go and build a house in the moon. Yeah. They are poor today because of riba. Sometimes the money lender lends on interest in order to ensure that he remains permanently rich, because he immunizes himself from loss by lending on interest. And when an economy is based on money being lent on interest, then wealth no longer circulates through the economy. And the rich remain permanently rich, and the poor are imprisoned in permanent poverty. And that, of course, is oppression. But there's another form of riba. If you meet a man coming to the market to sell his goods, a truckload of durian, D24 is called it, top quality, and you buy his durians from him, before he could enter the market, the wholesale price was 20 ringgits a kilo, top quality, and you bought it from him for 15. And when he entered the market, he found that he could have gotten a better price. The Prophet said, this is riba. You've exploited his ignorance of the market price to extract a gain or a profit greater than that to which you are justly entitled. That's the elegant way of expressing it, explaining it. The Americans have a nice way to say the same thing. You say, you ripped him off. That's riba. The biggest riba, the biggest rip-off of all, which has helped to contribute substantially to the abject poverty of most of the world of Islam today. Miserable poverty, biting poverty. Such poverty that our daughters are now working in Singapore as domestic servants for the enemies of Islam for $300 a month. And no Singaporean girl, of course, will ever work for that salary of a dog. So much for the great democracy of Singapore. It's because of riba that the Indonesian women are now working like dogs for the slave wages because of riba. I think they're not much different in Malaysia, where they work for about 400 ringgits or 600 ringgits. And no Malaysian woman will work for that wage and do that work. That's oppression. And so riba results in people being embraced in a new slavery. That slavery has come today. But the last age also witnesses something called a feminist revolution. Which says to women that all through history you've been oppressed, particularly by men, oppressed by religion. That we're going to put an equal sign between the male and the female. Islam never put an equal sign between the male and the female. Islam said something far more beautiful than that nonsense. Islam said that the male and the female are like two halves, eternally longing for each other. And when they come together, they make a whole. So it's not equality, you dum-dum. It's complement. It's not equality, you dum-dum. It's complementarity. That they complement each other. The one without the other is incomplete. But along comes this modern feminist revolution which says anything that a man does, a woman must have the freedom to do it. But Allah created the male and the female the way that He created the night and the day. He says so in Surah Al-Layl. Look at the night and look at the day and you see the male and the female. The day must perform his job and the night must perform her job. They are functionally different. And when they perform their basic functions, then the machine can work. The system will be harmonious. Makes sense. But when the night wants to become day, in Singapore the night is already day. In Malaysia the night is making significant progress to become day. In Indonesia the night is struggling. Struggling, an awkward struggle to become day. Have you ever seen an Indonesian woman dressed as a policewoman? What a cumbersome sight she looks like. When the night attempts to become day, the feminist revolution deprives her of her femininity. She's no longer truly a woman. She acquires so many masculine qualities that some men are turned off. But it's not only the loss of femininity, it's also the loss of fertility. Wherever the feminist revolution has made progress, you also have to have fertility clinics now because the womb refuses to function. And so what does she do? Because if she cannot give a child to her husband, he's going to get someone else. So it's a very serious matter here. If this marriage is to survive, we need to have children. The man wants a child of his own sperm. So you look for the slave woman. In the United States, she'll charge you about $70,000 US. But you can find a slave woman in India or Bangladesh, and you can only pay her maybe $7,000. And her womb will now become a factory. Rent a womb. And when the baby is born, if it's a baby boy, well, it's just another child. But if it's a baby girl, she's going to rule her mother. I wonder why. I'll tell you why. Because the Prophet said about the last age, not only that the slave woman will give birth to her mistress,